Good morning, Instagram. We're just getting rolling on all the channels live. My money mentoring over coffee. And let me get everyone rocking and rolling. We'll get you all here. Let me know that you can see me. Let me know that you can hear me. All right, here we go. Good morning, y'all. How are you? Happy Monday. It's another Monday. Let me make sure that you can all hear me, see me. Chris is in the house. So good. Tom is in the house. I see Kristen and Liddy and Missy. So good. And I see people on Instagram. We've got you all here. Say hello. It's a big week for us here at the Abraham household. We are getting a new addition to the family, an 8-week-old puppy. So next week you'll see my arm chewed off. So So Budo doesn't know what's happening, but all of a sudden there's this additional crate in the house that he cannot fit in, and he's trying to figure it out, going, "What is this?" So so Samson shows up on Wednesday morning, or well, not Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, and so that will be we will make sure that we record the greeting. So little Samson, let me see if I got for those of you who are on Zoom and everything, you ought to be able to see this. This is little Samson. Look at those eyes. He's gonna get whatever he wants. so so yeah, we get him on Wednesday. So cool. I got a couple things, and then we can chat. We can open it up for questions. If you've got questions, I've got some questions that came in, and all that. This is our time to have a conversation. Like I said, I wanted to do this weekly, and we'll decide whether we want to turn it into a weekly show, a live show type of a thing, which I enjoy. So the big thing for me is my schedule and everything, especially going into what I'm going into. But we last week did the first master class called Effortless Wealth, which we are going to redo. We're gonna do it again coming up in a handful of weeks. But part of it was to teach and to train, to introduce a new training that I have on investing and everything, but to give you an opportunity to get access to it and everything. But also, really, it was also for me to announce my upcoming book, which is due to release June 11th, and we're doing all kinds of stuff. You'll start seeing more and more of it. This is kind of the book that's got the frameworks, the processes, the systems that allow people to find the path to financial freedom. I mean, here's my belief, y'all, is I think that financial freedom is a birthright. Now, that might sound like some really cool Twitter-like kind of statement, but I truly believe that's the case. And when you understand the principles behind money, you realize that it's just a math equation that we just need to solve. And sometimes the math equation is a little more difficult than other times, but the components of it are the same all the time. If we have to manage our money in, our money out, and the stuff we keep, that's it. And we often think that it's more complicated than that. And that's why I find that a lot of folks are not investing. A lot of folks are not doing anything, and they don't have access. And then they start to sit back and say, they get to their later years and they don't have anything saved and they don't have anything put away. And I want to solve that because I want to open up the dialogue and the conversation around money. Too often, we don't want to talk about money. We don't feel it's safe. We get, it's judged, it's demonized, it's impolite as we were raised and everything. But when you look at the statistics, the American Psychological Association did a study a year or so back that said that 72% or so of people have financial stress, and that 22% call it extreme financial stress. Y'all, if 3/4 of the population are living under financial stress, then it's something we ought to be doing something about. We ought to be having a conversation about. And there's a prescription. The prescription's here. The prescription is in what we talk about. The prescription is opening up and having conversations. No matter where we're at, you could be deep in a hole, but we got to dig out. Or we could be up on the top of the mountain and we got to preserve. Either way, we got to have the conversations. Either way, we need to do the things that it takes to build a financial future, because like it or not, ain't no one coming to save you. So It's not in Social Security. It's not in government help. It's not in anywhere else but in your own hands. And so let's do what we need to do to make it happen and to help out wherever we can. And that's the reason that I started to do the show, is to say, hey, can we create a place where we can have just real conversations, where we can have real conversations about what's going on in your life, or in money conversations that actually matter, and in a place where I got no investments to sell you, I got no insurance to sell you. I just want you all to know that when you get to those last days, you can look back and go, I did it my way, and I lived fully, and I lived the way I wanted to live, and I felt free in the process. And I think that's really where all of this kind of is derived from. And so I think that it's important for us to consider. Now, there's this thing that I'm starting to see and I'm starting to hear, and there's this idea of the silent recession. So, and I love these little buzz terms that they'll throw out there, but I get where they're coming from, because statistically, from the data, we are not in a recession. Okay, because in order to be in a recession, we have to have two consecutive quarters, so 6 months of negative GDP growth. And we don't have that. However, y'all, you been to the store lately? It is more expensive to live. And that's why people are calling it the quiet recession, the silent recession. And my good friend Farnoosh Torabi was just having a conversation around that. And I think it is real. Cost of living is higher, and it's more challenging. Whether the media or the economists or anyone wants to call it a recession or not, I don't care what you name it. It's costing more to live. We don't need to title it to know that there's some pain out there. There's some uncertainty out there. There's some things out there that are impacting us in our lives when you start to look at it from those eyes. And so I don't ever really want to have it be in a place where we don't have those conversations. And, this week is going to be really interesting because the data that came out last week for economic data wasn't at the level that people anticipated necessarily, that would indicate that they actually have their arms around inflation. And from the cost of living stuff, I don't know that they do. And, prices might not be going up in some areas, but here's what they're doing. What they're doing is that there's this other term called shrinkflation. Okay, where you take the cookies in the canister and you just make them smaller. And so what's happening is, bottom line, either way, is you're getting less and paying more. So call it silent recession, shrinkflation, whatever it is. It's the reality that we might be living in. And so I want us to deal with it and be aware of it. And what do we need to do to navigate it? And the other side of this is that is to realize that on Wednesday, the Feds meet. And so it'll be interesting, their interpretation of the data and their indication of what they anticipate. Now, my guess is they'll do nothing, because at the beginning of the year, they're already predicting there was going to be 4 interest rate drops. Okay. 4 interest rate drops during the year. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen. And if it does, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But the first bite at the apple, the first conversation is going to be this week. So the stock market and everything is going to be sitting on pins and needles to see what Powell and the Fed say this week. So it might be a little bit of a vault-ride. What they'll do is depending on what's happening leading up to that conversation, we might see a rise or a dip in the market, and then the response to it right after that in what we do. So, yeah, actually, it is. Tom. Yeah, it is shrinking content. Yeah, it is. It is something that I think that we're dealing with, and it's real. So let's live in the reality of what it is, and let's figure out what we want. Which kind of leads me to a question that came in about. It basically, in a nutshell, it was I can't control my spending, and the premise of the question, and this gal Sheila, and if you're on or you're listening, I'd love to chat deeper about this. But when we say I can't control my spending, it's as if you have no control of yourself. I'm being upfront and very direct about it. Our ability to build wealth, our ability to do the things that we want to do with our money is based on choice, decisions, habits, and behaviors. And I get it. You might say, well, I can't pay my bills because I'm not making enough. I get that. That's not what I'm talking about. But whatever you are getting paid, what you do with it is a choice. It's a choice. Now, some of the choices that might be there may not be great choices. Like it would be easy for me to say, well, maybe you're living in too expensive of a place. Now, I don't know your expenses, but it would also be tone deaf for me to just kind of flippantly throw it out there. So I don't pretend to know all the facts. Here's what I do know, though. We make choices on how we want to work. We make choices on how we want to spend. So we make choices around those. The problem is not the choices that we make in advance. It's usually the choices we make in the moment. So how many of you actually plan out your weeks before the week starts? Yeah, I see hands going up. Yeah. What we need to be doing is so I sit down, I know what my week is actually a week ahead of time. I know what I'm doing, not just this week, but the next week. Okay. Now it's going to change. It's going to shift depending on what's going on and everything. But by and large, I know what it is. The point being is that I do it ahead of time. I don't get to Monday morning and go, all right, it's Monday. What do we do? And because the tendency then is to turn around and not set yourself up for success. So if I know Monday morning I'm going to the gym, my stuff for the gym is out in the morning, so it's easy for me. There's very little resistance for me to go to the gym other than getting my butt out of bed, and going. And the thing is that it's the same thing with our money. And so one of the things that I would tell Sheila to do is, and I don't know if she is, are you working from what I call a cash resource plan? Other people might call it a budget. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that before I actually make the money, before I earn any dollars, I've defined where the dollars are going to go. I've given them the job description they deserve. And I know that the first $100 is going here, the next is going here, the next is going here. Some of it's going to be for rent, some of it's going to be for our future, some of it's going to be for fun. But I do it in advance because the challenge is when we have the money in our hand, all of a sudden we make an emotional decision in the moment instead of a planned decision that's more strategic. And so the first thing I would ask is are you working from a plan or are you working from a checking account? In other words, I get my money in, I look at the money, and then I start spending. We all should be working from a plan. I did not get to where I am without planning it out, even my CPA exam. So someone told me that the guy I was working for was a great entrepreneurial CPA. And he said, you might as well try and take the exam while you're in school. Now, I'm in school taking 18 units. The CPA exam is 4 full days. Back in the day. All right. That makes me old, huh? Did it? Yeah, back in the day. So we're talking 1985. We had to take the exam for 4 days, no calculators. So we had to do all the math by hand. We had to show all our work in those, remember them blue books that you used to write essays in? Like it makes my hair, what hair I have just kind of. So I had to do that. I decided to do it while I was still in college to see what the exam was like. But then I thought, my boss said to me, he goes, if you're going to do it, you might as well try and pass it. Okay. I knew that I had 75 days to plan for the CPA exam. I knew what was on the CPA exam. So I looked at what I needed to know at that 75th day before I stepped in. And then I backed it up and I said, I need to know this by this week, this week, this week. And I broke it up into pieces. We got to do the same thing with our money. It's why we create the affluence number, this basic number that is it may not be precise, but it is setting a direction. So if I know that I need $1 million or in order to live the life I want, or I need 5 million, tell me, it doesn't matter what the number is. I now can break it down into bite-sized chunks all the way back to today and know what I need to do today. And you build your plan from that. It's not about a budget. It's about a plan to achieve the financial results that you want. And then you operate to a plan. And that's the thing that most of us don't do is that we look at budgets like dieting, okay? It's deprivation, but it isn't. It's permission. If anyone's ever felt guilt or shame about spending, you want to rid yourself of the guilt and shame, plan your spending in advance. So now you've spent something, you've given yourself permission to spend. The reason we have guilt and shame in many cases is because I did something that I didn't plan on, and now I don't know if I should have done it. There's remorse. But we can avoid that. Or we can at least reduce it tremendously. So hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully this helps. I mean, the bottom line is that, Sheila, whatever your situation is, there's a math problem to be solved, the in, the out, and what you keep. But if the issue is, oh my gosh, I can't control my spending, we have to look deeper to the emotional elements that are driving that, and more importantly, the feeling that you actually don't have control. And so that's why, I would love to go a little deeper to understand more and maybe be a little more direct around that answer to see if that helps. So, Tom, you are right. He says, sounds like we can all create. I wonder if this will work. Hold on. Can I put this up there? I don't know. Oh, I don't know. No, there was a way for me to pop it up on the screen, but all right. It says, it sounds like we can all create financial freedom regardless of income. I do believe we can. If you look at some of the studies out there, the biggest millionaire study is 10,000 millionaires, and 31% of those that made the millions never made much more than $100,000 in their over the course of their annually over the course of their career. So it wasn't about and 79% of them were first generation, meaning that they created it themselves. So it wasn't something that was handed to them, inherited, gifted, won, anything like that. They actually created it, and because they created it, they had the ability to build it from not a lot of income. So it's not a matter of the volume of income we have, because there's on the other side of it, you can look at people like a Nicolas Cage, a Burt Reynolds, uh, Mike Tyson. We can name a lot of these folks that made hundreds of millions of dollars, and they went broke, and some of them still are. Some aren't with us anymore, but the fact is that the volume of money you make, if you don't do the right things with it, you can be just as broke as the other one. Okay. Robin's asking, what software do you use to create your budget or your plan? So, great question, Robin. So there's a couple things. What do I track? Okay, I'm a little old-fashioned. I don't use any of the newer apps, and primarily because I have so much history. I track all of my personal spending in Quicken. Okay, part of the reason I do it is it updates everything. I can just push a key and have updated numbers, and it's connected to all my accounts. And transitioning to another app or tool isn't necessarily something that I want to do, because I have this long history. I literally can go back. In fact, I put a graph up in this masterclass tracking my path to $1 million. It's Quicken from Intuit. Yeah, Quicken. So my personal stuff is tracked in there. My business stuff I use QuickBooks for. Okay. Now I also do things in I have some tools that I track my net worth statement in, and my net worth in some of that. And most of that is built in like Google Sheets or Excel. But there are some really cool apps out there. Mint is going away, or has gone away, I think it is. But there's some good apps out there that you can use for your budget. Here's the important thing. Don't get caught up in the bells and whistles of apps, software, tools. Figure out what fits your personality and use the one that you'll use. If it's a beautiful tool, but it's cumbersome for you because it doesn't fit, then you're not going to use it and you don't get the benefit out of it. There's Personal Capital. There's YNAB, which is you need a budget, which is more of a budgeting tool. There's a couple of different tools out there, and maybe what I'll do is I'll do an every dollar. And Melissa, if you've got a spreadsheet that works, use the spreadsheet. I mean, I'm still on Quicken. So yeah, and maybe what I'll do is I'll put into the queue an episode where I look at and I review maybe the top 4 or 5 financial apps, if you will, and my thoughts on them for y'all, and put it out there and do it that way. But the key, don't let the app or the software or anything be the obstacle to getting you in the game. If all you did was take a pen and paper or pencil and paper and start marking out, here's the thing. In the Affluence Blueprint, we give worksheets, and there's a corresponding Excel workbook that goes with it. But even if you don't use the workbook, you are using the worksheets. So we can do it old fashioned, the the way to do it. And part of me wants people to get to do it the old-fashioned way because there's something different about writing it out and doing it at least the first time. To go, all right, I'm thinking it through. It slows your mind down because you're writing and starts to get you to think about it more and be really clear on it. We can add it into an app. We can add it into other things later and everything. I just want to get you in the game. But this is a great question. But that's what I use. I've been using it for decades and just keep upgrading it. And it has so much of my old data in it. It's got my history going back to, oh my God, almost 20 some years, 25 years. So I've got all my data going back to it's how I was able to look at and say, when did I make my first 100? When was my net worth 100 grand? And what did it take? So cool. All right. Let's see. I've got some questions in the hotline, but I want to open it up for y'all. If you have questions or anything, let me know. We can make sure that we jump on those questions. Why is this not? Try this again and see if it adds y'all in. See. Invite. This will help. Got this new software I'm trying to. It's not. All right. Oh, well, there we go. Cool. Yeah. Missy says, I laugh about it because I'm always running pens out of ink. I get it. I get it. All right, y'all. Let me know if you got a hand up. I'm going to go to the Zoom room first. If Instagram or anyone on the socials, you want to post your comments or your questions, I'll make sure that I get to it. But let me just see if anyone in the Zoom room has a hand up or any thoughts. Oh, let me let in. Got people. Kristen Miller's got her hand up. Let me see if I can pull you up here. Boop, boop. See if that works. Should have. I don't know.
I can.
You can see me?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right.
It might be a simple question, but as a foreigner, alien, all the other funny names from South Africa, are there any tips for the fastest way to grow your credit score? I didn't realize how here. There we go. Yay.
Yay.
I say, but I'm loving the learning and I'm finally recognized, with the credit score and all, and I just want to accelerate that, get to up. If there's anything about that, I'm learning. I'm investing.
Yeah, so this is a great question. I did a whole episode on credit score. Okay. And so here's the thing. There's a couple things you can do. The thing that you don't have is that payment history is the most important thing. That's 35% of the credit score. So we need to have that payment history in place, and that's just going to take time. However, there is a way, and I don't know if you're doing this already, but there is a way to register, if you will, things like your rent, your utilities, cable, all those types of regular expenses that aren't considered credit, but they are credit because they're entrusting you to pay every month. And now what happens is that some of the credit reporting bureaus are starting to give credit for that. And so you want to look at and make sure that the stuff you are doing on the good side are getting reported on an ongoing basis. You will have, I'm assuming that you have some credit cards and some credit already.
I got my first credit card approved last November. celebrated. I was so happy.
Now you're using it, right? You're using it, and you're paying it off.
Oh, totally. Managing it well. I'm quite precise with my finances. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I love the number game. So yeah.
Yeah. So what you want to do is keep doing that. Now, if you don't mind me asking, what was the credit limit they gave you on that card?
On the first one, it was only $500.
Okay.
And then I found out it was surprised that for the time was 6. So 8 months somehow. I believe now I'm monitoring. Now I'm active.
So here's the other side of it. One of the criteria for a credit score is the utilization of your credit. So, and it sounds totally counterintuitive, but let's just say, to make the numbers easy, that your available credit on the credit card is $10,000. And let's just say that you used $5,000 of it. So you have a 50% utilization, but you're paying on time. You've got a good history, and you go to your credit card company and say, look, I've been paying you on time. I've got a good history. Can you increase my limit? Now they increase the limit to $15,000. So now you have 5,000 against 15,000. The utilization went down to 30%, and your credit score just went up. So what happens is, counterintuitively, now I'm not one to just say, get a bunch of credit, or put yourself in a position where you can get yourself in trouble. As I use credit cards, but I do not carry balances. And it sounds like you're doing the same. But so credit history, the length of the credit is outstanding. So you're just starting. We can't affect that. So your payment schedule becomes important. So I would get as many things reported to the credit bureau for good payments as possible, rents, utilities, and things like that. And then the credit utilization will have an impact on it. So I would periodically reach out to them and say, hey, can I get you to increase my limit? Okay. And that will start to boost your credit up pretty quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing, and it's so much fun. I have one credit card, but I've learned that here you them and one will be personal, and will be different business file. That's different.
Yeah.
I'll start.
And we don't close out credit cards. Because remember, I said that the length of your credit history. So when you shut an old credit card down, we cut off that history. So there's some credit cards that I've had that are sitting in a drawer that I don't use. And if they had any fees associated with them, all I did is I had the credit card company downgrade it to a non-fee type of an account. But they kept my limits. And they kept my history. And then I just locked it up. Now, the other thing that I do, for those of you that do this, is I have one credit card that has all of my subscriptions on it. That credit card does not travel with me. That credit card is locked up in a drawer. And the only reason I do this is because one time I lost my wallet. And I spent so much time trying to figure out, where is that subscription? Which card is the subscription on, that I can call them and put, it was a mess. And I said, why not just put all subscriptions on one credit card, and that's it? Don't carry the credit card. So if I lose my wallet again, my subscriptions are fine. And now I'm just worried about the lost cards. So I do that also.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. Great question, though, Kristen. All right. Um, let's see. Let's see. Anyone else? Anyone else? I see a question that just came in. Jane is asking, can I comment on HELOCs? I'm considering taking one to do my basement, which I will then use for an Airbnb. What would be your considerations? Jane, this is a great question. Are you still on live? Would you want to come up and chat? I don't know if I have you here.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. Let me see if I can. Are you open to coming on live?
I'm not in a great lighting.
Let's see if this'll work. It's not working.
Yeah.
All right. I will find you. There you are. So, all right. Hi, Jane. How are you?
Hi.
Good.
Hi.
Hey, so tell me, where are you located? Just so I know.
Nothing but.
Okay, cool. So let me be. I'm gonna talk. All right. So let me be really straight. Sometimes I do these things. My primary job, I think, for most, is to make sure that I keep you safe. So I'm gonna tell you the cautions, and then we'll talk about the other side of it. Okay?
Yeah.
The biggest caution is creating an Airbnb in your own property, in my opinion, brings some uncertainty to having people in your own space. And I want you to be really smart about it from a safety standpoint. And I don't know if you're married, if you have kids or any of that stuff, but
I am.
so you just want to be safe in the way you do that, because especially if they're in your basement, they're close to home. So that's something that you want to consider. Putting that aside, then let's talk about a HELOC. You can use a HELOC if you want. Realize, and I did a whole episode on home equity lines. It is a variable rate loan. The nice thing about it is, unlike getting a loan from the bank where you go and borrow $10,000, if you will, and you start paying interest from the moment you borrow it, this is like a checkbook. So you only pay interest on it when you draw it down. So as you're doing the construction or the remodel and everything, and you write checks from that, that's when you'll start paying the interest. So you could use it for that. Now, here's the element to it, though. HELOCs are variable rate loans, so the interest rate's going to move. Okay, and if interest rates stay high or go higher for any reason, then your remodel just got more expensive. Okay. Normally, I would say I don't want you using a HELOC for a different property, because you're securing your residence. You're using your residence as security for something else, and that debt's going towards something else. But this sounds like it's the same property that the HELOC would be on.
Yeah.
So it's secured by the same thing. You're encumbering your home, but it's certainly going to be cheaper interest than it would if you were doing a credit card to do it. Are we talking a lot of money for the remodel?
No, it's not a lot of money.
Okay.
But would you take a down payment?
No, and here's why. Think about this, because a different property, meaning an income property.
Yeah.
So here's why. And there'll be other people that would say, "Oh yeah, go ahead and do it." But if I finance the down payment and I finance the property is 100% financed, which to some people say, "Well, great, you're using someone else's money." But if you cannot afford to get into the property with a down payment and have liquidity, and now you you have a repair problem a bad tenant problem, you have a vacancy problem, you can't carry it. And now you're in a situation where you've got all this debt on a property that can't cash flow, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wouldn't do it. If I were looking to buy a property or do another property, what I would put a plan in place, and I would put a sinking fund in place to build up enough to have the down payment to get into the property. Your ability to make money on real estate is on how you buy the real estate, not how you sell the real estate. And so we want to buy the real estate the right way so we can manage it. And I would look at it from, like, my son was looking at a piece of property in Lake Tahoe that he wanted to do as an Airbnb. And so he said, what should I look at? I said, well, first off, see if it pencils out as an Airbnb. Second, because we're starting to see a lot of, like, cities and everything, and councils trying to stop short-term rentals. So let's assume that they decide you can't do short-term rentals anymore. Does it pencil out as a long-term rental? If it pencils out as an Airbnb and a long-term rental, great. Now ask yourself, well, what happens if I can't get a tenant? I got to flip it. Does it pencil out as a flip? The more of those alternatives you have, the better off you are. We always want to, before we enter a transaction, we always want to know what the exit is, or what the possible exit is. Because now you can feel comfortable going, hey, I'm going in, we're going to do it with Airbnb. If we can't do it, we'll do long-term rents. Because I've already looked at it, and you're not in a place where going, I thought I was going to be an Airbnb. I can't now, and the rents don't work. I got to try and flip it, and you're taking a loss. So buy it right. Be patient. There's going to be deals. As much as they go, oh, this is going to go away. Let me tell you, the first home in this community that we put a bid on, we didn't get. And frankly, thank God we didn't, because we got a better house and a better deal. We paid more because the house was bigger, because of the location, more than we were intending to spend, but we ended up in a better place. So don't chase it. Don't allow the emotions to chase you, to get you to chase it. Be logical. Know your exit before your entrance.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You got it. Keep rocking.
Thank you.
All right. Great questions. But if you pay cash for big things, you don't need credit history. Why do you need a good credit otherwise? Well, Melissa, I get it. I keep credit. I try to keep my credit score high, because believe it or not, even if, there are companies that actually check your credit for job interviews. So there's still benefits to do it. Now, my credit is frozen and locked for fraud reasons. So, and you should all, if you're not actively seeking credit, you should be locking your credit so no one can apply for credit in your name. And everything. It's just a cleaner way to go. You can just go to the credit reporting bureaus, ask them, you want to put a freeze on it and everything. There's no cost to it. And if I needed something, like I needed to do something, all I had to do is go online and say, unfreeze this for this week. And then it refreezes again and everything. So, Christian says, I know she's doing the affluence number. She knows her number. It's a big number, 33 mil. Look out. Little guidance on how your annual targets to get using the spreadsheet. So I'm assuming you got the basic number calculator, Kristen, right? Yeah. So aligned with Chelsea, almost. Oh, don't miss us, Chelsea. Don't miss us. Make sure you're here. So So that spreadsheet is meant to calculate the target. It's not something that facilitates the goals. Now, the question you got to ask yourself is do you have milestones that you need to hit along the way? So what happens is that what I would do is, let's say that 33 million that you're trying to hit is, whether it's 10 years, 20 years, 5 years, 50, whatever it is, you want to break it down and say, where do I need to be at the halfway point? Where do I need to be at the quarter point? Where do I need to be in 12 months? And you break that down and you work from those little pieces. So what ends up happening is that I typically will work in a decade plan that breaks down to a 5-year plan, then a 1-year plan, and then I drop it down to 90-day sprints, 13 weeks at a time, and say, what are the action steps to make in those 90 days? And most of the time, those 90 days will consist of 3 major projects that I'm going to focus on, and that's it, because we can't effectively do it. So then I'm looking at it saying, every single 90 days, I do an evaluation, say, did I accomplish what I needed? Did it get me where I needed to go? And we adjust the plan, and we adjust the plan, and we adjust the plan, keeping our eye on the curve. Now, here's the thing that most people don't realize, or they don't think about, is that when we're doing this, is that we start to look at it and say, well, I need to make 33 million. And I'm sorry, those of you on Instagram can't see this, but I'm just drawing something out. I need to make 33 million. And you start to think that, okay, I'm here now. This is where I want to go. And you think that it looks like that. So you start doing, I want to make 30 million, and I got, just to make it easy, I've got 20 years to do it. So that means that I got to make $1.5 million a year. Yeah, well, that would be true if the money you were putting away wasn't working for you.
I think that's where I am. Because I know I 33 it's worst target. So the affluent sheet came back that I needed something. I've got it in front of me. Right. I don't think I need working.
Well, so because here's what's happening. The whole idea of building a money machine is to get your money to work harder for you than you did for it. And so the idea is that you're going to be putting money in early on because you're in the wealth flat line. As it starts to work for you, it's going to grow exponentially. So the first money in, like if you remember the chart that I did, I think at 29, I had my first 100 grand in net worth. It took 5 years to get to double it. And then all of a sudden it took 4 years, and then it took 3 years. So what happens is that there's a compression of time because we start to hit money momentum. And often when we're looking at a big number, we think it's linear, but it's not. Because if all of a sudden over here, I have $3 million, you're sitting back going, well, gosh, I'm $3 million. I got 30 million to go. But here's what we know. If you touched it and did nothing with it in 3 years, it's going to be 4 million. In another 6 years, it's going to be 5-6 million. So now all of a sudden, that's without you adding to it. So you see what happens, it starts to grow faster and faster and faster. Your first monies in are the hardest, but your first monies in are the most important. And so what we really need to do is play out the math, not on a linear scale, but assuming that we're investing on an ongoing basis, making, call it average returns at 7-8%, and see what that growth is. and doing that. The more I can front load my contributions in the earlier years, the heavier the easier the lift will be later on. So what we really need to do with yours is start to look at and project out over time how much investing you might do and what that's going to grow to, because you've got the money you're earning that you're bringing in, and you've got the money that you brought in that's earning more money. And over time, the money that you brought in should start to make more money than you did from your earnings.
There's also, like you said, patience for one.
Yeah.
For me, and then harmony. Not too hard and end up with bronchitis. I was driving, so then I had a little ill health spell.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. Oh, thanks. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's probably the biggest thing, and we just start to plan it out from there, and just know that there comes a time that the numbers that they'll do more heavy lifting than you will, but it's not tomorrow. It just isn't. You know, it's probably, depending on where your situation is, it's a good 7 years from now, 5-7 years from now. We got to play.
I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it for the long run, so I'm happy.
Just a general rule. There's a rule called the rule of 72s. And the way this thing works is that at 10%, you'll double your money every 7.2 years. At 7%, you'll double your money every 10 years. So if I know that I put $100,000 away today and I get 7%, in a decade, it'll be $200,000. But it also means that in another decade, it'll be $400,000. So I quadruple my money in 20 years. That game is being played in the background every single day, every single year for you, as long as you keep participating and putting the money away. And you'll probably get more than 7% in the long term, as long as you're not going ultra crazy aggressive and swinging for the fences all the time. And over time, you'll see that you'll wake up and go, gosh, I had no idea how much this grew. So, yeah, great question. Melissa, oh, you had your hand up. You still have your hand up? You still have a question? Come on down. Let me see if I can bring you up. How are you?
I am healthy.
Good.
Not wealthy, wise, but talked about not red milk when you had your kid. And I have a coaching going for the past 4 years, but I have a side hustle that I make almost as much. And it's not something that, I mean, I love doing. Work with Appalachian trail hikers and settle them, but not what I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I want to grow my, and I don't know if there's taking away from that by doing. No.
Well, I don't know that I have the answer to that, other than to sit back and say, are there things that you could be doing to your coach? Are you putting the coaching business aside for the summer until you do that?
No. Number of clients aren't there, but
Could they be there if you were there dedicated to do it?
that's what I'm saying. I don't think so, honestly.
So is the coaching business not something you think you can scale?
I think it is eventually.
Mhm.
I'm signed up for high performance coaching class, so I think that I'll be able to keep up with that.
Yep. That's coming up, isn't it?
Hey,
Hey, yeah.
but I make almost all this May through October.
That you make for a full year of coaching.
Doesn't know.
So here's it reminds me of, so when I first started in this journey, I had my CPA firm and my CPA practice, and I was making really good money doing it. Okay. But it wasn't where my joy was. It wasn't where my enjoyment was. And I had the option to sit back and say, well, burn the boats, jump all in, and do this thing. I didn't do that. Because there's a difference between, and I don't know your situation, but there's a difference between being committed and being reckless. Okay? I was a single full-time dad. Burning the boats would have been reckless. It might have shown commitment, but I had a responsibility to take care of my son. I have all of
I
that.
don't have any responsibility.
So the key is then you can look at it and say, do I want to commit to this? And if I committed to this, do I think I could replace the income? And I'm going to say that it's probably not an either or, but it's an and. So what I did, and I think you could possibly do the same, is as this coaching builds, you start slowly shrinking the trail stuff. Okay. As my other work built, my speaking and the thought leadership and the programs, I started trimming down all the CPA work to the point where I basically do zero of it now. The old stuff that I used to do, I don't do anymore. Okay. And I've effectively retired from it. But it was a transition over time. Now, there's also this tendency, just being totally upfront about it, where there's a comfort because you have this other income stream in. So there isn't an urgency. And I'm going, well, I'm making really good money over here. So, okay, whatever, So what I realized I needed to do to actually accelerate and really build the other side of the business was to set some very strict timelines, deadlines, and targets. So where do I want the coaching business to be in 12 months from now? What's the plan to get me there? How many people am I going to speak to? What's my marketing? All of those things, and put it in place and start executing on it. Because what your intent is 12 months from today or whatever, maybe you're going to say, I'm going to do this summer and next summer. Okay. So I get two more hiking seasons in, but by the end of next summer, October 2025, you're kind of going, we're done. So put the plan in place to transition to that point. Now, could you keep it longer? Yeah, if you needed to. But without the plan, what I found is you just keep moving the target. You keep going, okay, one more year. And we never put the focus and the energy in the thing that we're trying to grow. So I do everything with a plan. You should do everything with a plan. So the first thing, okay, now you're sitting back. Now let's just talk about something for a moment. And because I think it's really interesting. You're going to go through the CHPC certification. Okay. Do you have any plans around the CHP certification week that you're going to do to communicate to the world that you're involved in this?
I don't have a week, so I'm spending on marketing.
Okay. Websites are easy. They shouldn't be costly. If someone's trying to charge you $10,000 for a website or some crazy stuff like that, you reach out to me, because no, not in today's world. Here's what I'm talking about. Back in the day when I was building my practice and I was trying to build my reputation as a valuation guy and everything and get hired, every time I did a speaking engagement, or if I was going in for a certification of some sort, every time before I did that, the week to 10 days before doing it, I put out a press release. Then the week following the event, the certification, the event, the speaking gig, I put out another press release. Here's the beautiful thing with press releases, folks. Now, back then, it was hard copy. We didn't have this internet. That's how old I am. All right. You know, I was just past stone tablets, y'all. So, but here's the thing. The beautiful thing with press releases, if you read them, it says, it's written in a form that sounds like third party, like a reporter is writing it. Okay, it's going to say Melissa says da 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 da. Yeah, but who's writing it? Well, Melissa's writing it, but it sounds different. And there's a format to press releases that I like to use that tends to get them published more. And that is that you make it a public service announcement and not a hey, look at me announcement. That means whatever the topic is, let's say it's CHPC coaching, high performance coaching, and in the press release, it's going to be something where you go, Melissa says, here's the 3 things you need to consider to be a high performer in leadership or whatever. And there's 1, 2, 3. That in and of itself makes it an educational piece that has value beyond, hey, look at me.
Yeah.
But if you're doing anything, if you're speaking on stages, if you're doing anything like that, you should be doing things like this to let the world know what you're doing.
Now, do you do press releases literally on a newspaper?
Well, back then I did. I sent them to specific. Now there's different PR press release services, and they're different subscriptions, and you can do it by unit. I haven't done it for a little bit, so I don't know what the pricing is on some of them. But you can go, like there was PR News or PR Wire, and you can choose where they're going to try and place it and everything. I don't know. You know, Tom, do you have some specifics on this? Because I know Tom does media and stuff. So I'm putting him on. Tom, I'm putting you on the spot. He's just unmuting.
Yeah, I was just sorry. My special kind of, self-promotional. If anybody has questions, contact me. My company is called Tom Martin Media. I'm a fan.com. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It used to be service. Years as a news producer, one of the places with Morning America, I like to talk about when I'm there or whatever. It's every day our executive audience question, what's in it for me? Now, this recent webinar was perfect. It was free, helpful. I was filing away again. Said what nuggets you give the people. Then I sometimes talk about, Robin sometimes talks about Robert Cialdini, persuasion, full of reciprocity. But we really are genuine service. We generally do want to help people. So it's not like, okay, I'll get genuinely want to help them. But it triggers reciprocity. Like Gary Vaynerchuk talk about that also. Give, ask. Like, oh, I have a book of things. And as Mel's doing, it's like, yes, of course I want the book. So it really worked out. And we, at any level, we don't need to be famous, or we can be new on the scene. 35 years, so I know the is always looking for new voices. They need to give content to the audience today more.
Yeah.
So they need you. It's not like, oh, why would I think no, you're exactly right to pressure of service, the third party voice of the press release.
Yeah.
And I will also say, just my own personal opinion, how I do things. I don't use services all that much. I put people cover my beat on the realtor or whatever. I say, you know, you can even speak in the third person about yourself, not or have a friend, you know, you name and email address. You know, let's say this topic must know. So whether it's podcast or radio, podcast, yeah, we love that topic. And I tend to write to journalists or the podcast.
Yeah, so this is a great point, and I know it's not directly related to money, but I think that this is a great point. One of the things that I would do is when I did a presentation or the certification, I would actually write a 500-word or so article. And because back then it was physical mailers and I had a database, and I literally would mail it to them and said, feel free to use it. Just please do me a favor, keep the byline in. And I said, and by the way, I know that you have an upcoming conference coming up. These are a couple topics that have been something that have been popular in the past. If you think that they'll serve you, let me know. I'll be more than happy to do it. So you got to be proactive. Here's the problem that I was dealing with. No one wanted to hire me because they said you have no experience. Well, y'all, I can do math. I ain't got no experience because no one's hired me. And if you don't hire me, I'm not going to get the experience. So the only way around it was, how do I create the perception of experience without having the experience? And I didn't know if it would work, but it in fact worked. And then obviously when you get hired, you got to deliver the results. So you get hired again. So it all worked properly, but I think you want a concerted, proactive effort. And to the extent what Tom said, you can create your own database where you're going directly and specifically to someone. I think you're going to get a far more mileage. There was an attorney that I was mailing to for 2 years, and he sent me a note. He called me up, left me a message and said, Mr. Abraham, I'd love to have a conversation with you. I've been the victim of your mailings for the last 2 years. I'm thinking, oh crap. He's a victim. He's an attorney. I'm getting sued. And so I get on the phone with him. He says, this was 1998. And he says, I need your help now. Since 1998, he has sent every single valuation across his desk to me. I've made millions from him. And I have not been able to refer him millions. But his response to me was, you give me something greater than a referral, and that is peace of mind. You're there, you keep me informed, and you're always a resource, and you make me look good in front of my clients. That's priceless.
And Mel, I can't resist throwing in. I love what Card said. All you need to do is constant you're educated.
Yeah.
And they're looking, the media's looking at places. You're one step educating, have value.
Yeah. Yeah. Did that help, Melissa? Awesome. Thanks, Tom. All right, let's see. I got a question coming in off of Instagram. Let me pull that. Or no, on where's that coming from? I don't know. Oh, it's on YouTube. I have a question about budgeting. Have a hard time paying all bills. Do you recommend saving for essentials first, rent, etc., paying these in full each month, then making monthly minimum payments? All right. This is Tesla Vision. Thank you for the question right there on YouTube. I don't know if you saw earlier the conversation around this. I think what we need to do is first off, let's get really clear on all the ins and outs of our income and the things that we have going on. So I want you to list out all your income and your income sources. I want you to list out all your expenses and your debts. Couple things. I want you then to track and mark all the expenses that are absolute necessities and needs. That's the things that feed you, clothe you, keep you safe, and keep you a roof over your head. It's not all of the ancillary stuff. It's not mani-pedis. It's not Netflix. It's not any of that stuff. I want to know what the bare bones needs are compared to your income. Okay. That's the first place we have to go. The rest of it is wants. The rest of it is something that we have the ability to be flexible with to some extent. Now, some of these might be debt on credit card payments or regular monthly payments. If you find that when you look at all your necessities and needs plus the debt payments and you're still upside down, there's two things you're going to need to do, and like it or not, okay? One, if on the debt side of it, I want you to get my worksheet. It's totally free. It's an Excel template, and I need you to get you on a debt payment plan. So you're going to go to melabraham.com/no debt. You're going to download that. You're going to put all your debts in there. You're going to put all the payments in, all the interest rates. You're going to set yourself up on a payment plan. You're either going to use, and there's a short training with it. It'll explain how to use it. That is going to help you decide whether you want to use avalanche or snowball method or some specific way to get you on a debt payment plan. Two, along with the debt payment plan, I want you to get on the phone with your credit card companies if that's what's burying you. And I don't know if that's the case. And I want you to start to negotiate with them. If you're not sure how to negotiate with them, I want you to look up my episode on negotiating with credit card companies. I'll walk you through some of the things to do. We want to create a win-win situation for them, and it's possible, and they will negotiate with you. Okay. Thank you, Melissa, for that, posting that. Then we get the negotiation done so we can get our payments down as low as possible. And now we look at the rest of it. Now, in some situations, you might sit back and say, I have student loans, I can't negotiate it. Or it could be, I have a car loan. There may be some hard decisions you need to make to get rid of assets that are burying you because you can't afford them right now. And then the third thing is to sit back and say, I may have a shovel problem. My shovel is too small. My shovel of income is too small. So what can I do to get my income up? If you're in a job, you could ask for a raise, but that usually doesn't work. What you need to do before asking for a raise is make sure that you up level your skill set and the value you provide. People pay you for value. So increase your value, you increase your pay. The second thing is to sit back and say, is there something else I can do to bring some income in to get me out of a hole, to get me right, to get this ship righted? It may not be for long term, but you might need to do a side gig for a short period of time to get this ship righted. But if what's happening is that every month you have more month than you have money, that means that you're going deeper in the hole every single month. That's not something that's going to stop. It's just going to get worse. So if we're digging a hole, the first thing to do is to stop digging. And then we figure out how to climb out. Now, I don't know the specifics on your situation. I'm more than happy to get more specifics about, is there a specific debt or specific something that's causing this issue? Is it, medical bills? Is it like I got laid off, so I had a period of time without income? Those kinds of things may be this nuance and something that we don't expect to happen over and over again. But I think it's something we want to look at. You need to pay. You got to keep the necessities going. So I want to pay those first. Negotiate the rest. Now, if my living expenses, my rent, and all that stuff is more than 30%, 28% of my income, you're living in a too expensive of a place. And we got to look at that, or we have to raise the income. So I don't know enough about your situation, but hopefully I gave you some things to think about. I'm more than happy to get more details to give you a little more specifics if that helps. Okay. Great question, though. All right. Other questions? I can't believe we've almost been going 90 minutes. Woohoo! I like it. You know, you get on these things and go, people going to show up? People going to ask questions? And here we are. All right, y'all. Hey, y'all. So here's the deal. Couple things. You'll see some things coming from me. Know that my book is on pre-order. I will let you know more about it, but you can find out about my book and some of the wealth resources that come along with the book. If you pre-ordered, I want to give you gifts because you're helping me. I want to help you. You can go to yourmoneymacinebook.com to grab a copy. Doesn't come out till June 11th, but there's all kinds of other stuff that we can do between now and then to make it happen. But this is, if you're looking for the prescription, this is the prescription. Yeah, I want to change the face of money and how we see money and the path to financial freedom. The crusade I'm on, and I want to recruit each and every single one of you to be part of this crusade, and that is to light the path to financial freedom for 1 million families, because I think it's possible. In our lifetime, I think it's possible within the next half decade, in the next 5 years, if we do it right. Alejandra on Instagram says, what advice do you give a teenager, or how do you start saving and learn about budgets? Oh, I love this question. Here's the deal. So teenagers are a fun game. I don't know what do the bonuses become available before the book ships or after? Most of the bonuses will be now with the book. So most of that stuff will be, there's a couple things that are after, but most of it is all now. So what advice do you give your teenager? And I don't know if you're still on. Is it Alejandra? If you're still on Instagram and you want to come on with me, let me know. I'll bring you on live. But so here's the thing. I want to get them. If you request to come on live, we can do it. And what the heck? So you need to get your teenagers involved in it. The magic, and you're on Instagram. We have a teenager that is actually on Zoom with us. You should see a little camera with a plus sign on it. Let me see if I can request. Hold on. Remove. No, I don't want to remove. Go live here. I just did it this way. Okay. See if that works. Your request, accept. I don't know. I'm trying something new. Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
You're free mentor and Instagram.
Oh my God, thank you. All right, so here's the thing. When it comes to teenagers, we need to get them involved. We need to get them involved in the process. I started actually paying Jeremy, my son, at 11 years old. Okay, but the purpose wasn't to pay him. It wasn't an allowance. It was a commission. It was something that allowed us to have a conversation around, well, when you get paid, what do you do? So, and we did it. We didn't get detailed where you say, oh, you got a budget and everything. I just said, look, there's 3 things I want you to do. 1, you got to pay for some things. 2, you got to be generous with things. And 3, you got to build a future. He said, I get it. You're looking at me going, I'm 11. What do you mean a future? You know, trust me. I remember when 25 was a long ways away. It's still a long ways away. It's just the other way now. Okay. And so the difference is that through that conversation, you have the opportunity to have the ability to get them to understand some things about money. Henry, who's not on today, is 18 years old. He's just funded a Roth IRA for this year and last year, $13,500 at 18. That number will grow almost 100 times by the time he's 60, 65. So he's already set himself up to be a millionaire if he doesn't do anything dumb. My son is 33, his wife's 30. They've got 3 homes and a multi-million-dollar net worth. That happened because of the fact that he did some heavy lifting when he was younger. These kids, if we have the conversation with them to get one of the greatest gifts I think we can give our children is to be financially literate and financially responsible and independent. First off, if they're independent, they ain't coming back knocking on my door at 30 years old going, I need a place to live. All right. And second, they're not going to be dependent on government or anything else to survive. They're going to create their own destiny. They're going to create their own future, and they're going to do it at their own hands. Some of the things that I did to incentivize him is I matched some of the things he did. So you're going to put $2,000 into a Roth IRA? Great. I'll match it. Now, in my case, I matched it 100%. You can match it 25%. You can match it 50%. But now all of a sudden, this kid's looking at it and go, wait a second. If I put 100 away, mom's giving me 50? I'm in. Now, they got to understand they can't touch the doggone money until they're 60, 59 and a half. But the beauty behind it is going to grow like crazy. And in the process, more importantly, you're teaching them the muscle. So before you get into really kind of giving them, all right, kid, it's time to go on a budget. That's like going to them saying, it's time to go on a diet. It just doesn't feel good. We have to, and this is the same thing if you're a couple, because I hear it, couples, one of the biggest friction points is money. And part of it is because what we do is we have a conversation about a budget and we're using it as a criticism and a judgment versus an aspiration. We're looking at it and saying, hey, you know what, honey, why did you spend an extra $200 on your hair? Or why did you spend that much on the golf game? Well, how is that conversation going to be productive and helpful? Versus sitting back and saying, first off, let's marry ourselves to a vision for a future of what we want. And let the future define how we should act. And so for our kids, as much as they may or may not understand it completely, they understand wanting to be rich, independent, and free. If they don't want to work the rest of their life, if they don't want to be a slave to a time clock, those things, they actually have more power to fix that today at 12, 13, 14 years old than they'll ever in their life. And if all they did was put a handful of dollars away on a regular basis, the muscle that they're going to generate of habits and behaviors will serve them the rest of their lives. Because there's going to be and their biggest challenge right now is their peers. Their biggest challenge right now is the influence. Their biggest challenge right now is their freaking phone and Instagram and watching everyone else and going, look what they got. They got the latest tennis shoes that are $150. And so we need to get them to run their own race. And this game of comparison is only going to set them up for disappointment. And as much as they won't understand it now, as I didn't understand it before, comparison, as they say, is the thief of joy. It truly is, because it is easy in today's world to always find someone that has more, that seems better. But all we see is the facade on the outside. All we see is what's dressed up. We see them on stage. We see they could be miserable. Their health could be horrible. Their relationships could be atrocious. Forget judging what we see. But this is a conversation you have to have on an ongoing basis. It's a conversation, like it or not, it's a conversation not of money, but of values and value. And giving them the ability, the two things that I used to tell the kids at the karate school when I had the martial arts studio for 11 years. So there's two things you need to make a decision on. First is, what do you stand for? Second is, how are you going to show up? With those two decisions, you can inform every other decision you make. Peer pressure goes away. Decide who you're going to be before someone tries to decide it for you. And you can change it as long as it's at your own hands and not someone else's. But it's going to be a process with them. It's not going to be a conversation. And so you want to put a process in with your teens and your youth to have this regular conversation. You want to gamify it. You want to have fun with it. You want them to play with it. I don't think it's ever too young to have conversations with them about money. It doesn't create greed. It creates understanding. It doesn't, it takes away, demystifies the whole idea. We can't talk about money. Why? I started having a conversation. I remember when Jeremy was like 7 years old. He wanted something in a store. I said, not going to happen. And he looks at me and goes, Dad, I'll make you a deal. I go, oh, you're going to negotiate with a negotiator, are you? So you know, it make it fun, but also get them to understand the dynamics of it. So many people, the thing that I hear most often from so many people about my teachings, the things that I do is say, God, I wish I heard this 10 years ago. I wish I heard this 20 years ago. I wish. It's because we don't talk about it. If I have any saying in my the years I have left, I want to talk about it every day. And so once this book is out, the next book is going to be a version of this for youth, because they have the greatest power in their hands to completely transform their financial future. And it's not this YOLO, you only live once, and you know, the FIRE movement where you're sitting back saying, I'm going to eat, you know, ramen and mac and cheese until I'm 30, 35 years old and try to retire. No, it's about living a fulfilled life on your terms, your way, completely free. Doesn't mean there's no work. It doesn't mean that there isn't any trials and tribulations and challenges. There is. That's just the way life is. But can you do it at peace and do it on your terms? I tell my wife that old song that Frank Sinatra sang, I did it my way. I said, that's what I want you to play at my funeral, because that's the way I want to live my life. I just want to know that I did it my way, without harming, you know, making sure that I'm good for other people. I'm not harming other people, but really, I just want to know that I lived I lived my life. Bronnie Ware wrote The 7 Regrets of Dying. One of the biggest regrets of dying was the fact that they didn't live their life. Get your kids to live their life, not their peers, not what's expected, not social media. Give them the gift of their own identity and support that journey. Jeremy, originally, he wanted to go to film school to be a film producer and everything, which would have cost me a bundle. And I had a tutor come in. He was getting a B in algebra, wanted to get an A. So I had a tutor come in, and the tutor was making small talk with him and asked him, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And he said, I want to do film. And he told him what he wanted to do at the time. And the tutor looked up at me and said, so what do you think about that, Dad? As if I was supposed to approve it. And I said, it's his dream. I had the chance to live my dream. I don't get a second run at it with him. He gets to live his dream. And as long as it's legal, moral, and he's not hurting anyone, let it be his dream. So I have no judgment on it. Let them live their dreams. But give them the support to make it happen. Give them the guidance so they do it with value and values. And give them a safe place to know that, hey, man, you're probably not going to make all the right choices. That's what parents are for. That's what this house is for. But I think that's the thing. You start the conversations with them, give them a vision for a life, but make sure that they're living their life. So I don't know if that's the answer you wanted, but that's the way I would approach it.
Yeah. I didn't get very good. Like, how you motivated? You say like you give her some money and she don't have to money, or how was that?
So what I did was I matched some of the money he was investing. So how I incentivized him was when, for instance, especially as a youth, if he's earning money, if they're earning money, like Henry, he was earning money from a job. Because he's earned money, he can contribute to a Roth IRA. So, and it grows completely tax-free. So I had him contribute to a Roth. When Jeremy would contribute to the Roth, I would match his contribution. So when he wanted to save for, thank you, Liddy. When he wanted to save for a car, I said, great, I will match your down payment. So I always made sure he had skin in the game. He wasn't coming to dad, even if dad could do it, to say, hey, I want to get a car now. Here's what I want. I want this BMW or this and that or whatever. I go, hey, get what you want. I'll match your down payment, and I'll pay, a percentage of your car payment just while you're in school. So in return, he's in school. He's getting good grades. He's doing what he needs to do. He's got his job. He's taking care of things himself. So what I did is I met him halfway or a percentage of the way in the things he did. So it was never coming to me with a handout. In fact, even today, okay, one of the last chapters, last things in the book is the skill sets before assets. If Jeremy did not prove to me that he has the skill sets to manage the machine that we've created, then he didn't earn the machine. I don't care whether daddy created it or not, mommy created it or not. Right now, God forbid something happens to me, the machine takes care of Stephanie. And then the machine moves to take care of Jeremy and his wife, Cammie, and our granddaughters, and so on and so forth. But it will stop moving and go to charity as soon as they stop skilling up. If they don't show responsibility, if they don't show understanding, if they don't show the skill sets to own the assets, they don't get the assets, period. End of story. No discussion. I don't care whether you're family or not. That's the way I look at it. Because too many times we hand money to the youth without the understanding and the values to handle it effectively, it gets squandered. Money Magazine did a study. So as much as 79% of millionaires were first generation millionaires. 79%. By the second generation, 70% of it was gone. Why? Because they didn't transfer the skill sets before the assets. 70% gone by the second generation, and then 90% the generation after that. So you end up building something tremendous for your family that completely transforms your whole family tree. You become the inflection point for your family by doing things right. And they get squandered. Why? Because we didn't transfer the skill sets. So they need to understand that as hard as you work, no matter how little or how much you have, they have to still earn it. Jeremy knew and knows that he has to show responsibility, otherwise he doesn't get a dime.
Because here is the thing. I have three girls. The 22 that's away, and is working, and some money her father does, but it's the thing over there. And I have two at home. One is 14 and the other is 16. But dad is the one that keeps the money. But he just put the money in the credit card, like for say something, $400 a month. Those are gone in the first week because they go in Amazon and buy that, and then they come to, I don't have money. Can you buy me this? You give me this, and it's like, what happened with the money your dad give you? Oh, I have to pay this, and it's gone.
Yeah.
So the resting on it, the 16, I talked to her about you, and she kind of like, her eyes get a little bigger, like it showed me more interest about learning. how to spend and saving and all that. But I don't know myself, so I want to guide her.
Yeah. This is a great conversation. So for those that might not have heard, she's got 3 daughters. One's away at school. The other 2 at home, 14 and 16. They get money put on a credit card from dad, and it gets spent pretty quickly. And then they're asking for money. So there's another reason I'm gonna bring this up. You want to raise your now I had 1 son, but now I have 2 granddaughters. So I'm gonna get the dose of this, but you want to raise your girls to be financially independent girls. Not that they shouldn't be in a fulfilling relationship. They should, but that relationship isn't built around money. It isn't built around wealth. It's built around a relationship, and so the smarter their ability, the smarter they are around the money, the more independent they get a chance to. All kids should be this way. My wife is financially independent of me in the sense of she doesn't need me. We want to be together. We love being together. We're 13 years this year married, but we're not there. We know people that are in relationships and they stay in relationships just because of the money. I don't ever want that for anyone. And so their ability to take care of themselves and their independence gives them not power, but options. It gives them peace of mind. It allows them to be valuable. And I think that part of this is it might require you to have a conversation with your ex and saying, hey, I want us to raise our kids. Now, depending on your relationship, I don't know. I want us to raise our kids so they're financially smart. And so I'd like your help with this. And instead of just putting the money on the credit card, can we work with them where they do something to show the responsibility on the using of the money? Exactly, Beth. It's freedom and choices. And so you work in concert. Now, and I get that you're exes, but for the good of the kids, to be able to teach them some skills on this would be really helpful to have the support of the ex in this journey. And now there's this this united front that helps educate them, get them in the game, and start them down this path. Versus, I used up the money that dad gave me. Now I'm going to come to you, and now you're trying to educate them. It just makes it a little harder. And so for the sake of the kids, if you can get on the same page and work together on it, it'll go better. And I know that can be difficult. You know, with Jeremy's mom, it was difficult at first. We're actually great friends now. You know, she comes over for Thanksgiving, we had to put it away for the sake of the kids. Like when Jeremy got married, I walked down the aisle and I had on one side Stephanie, my wife, and Kim, his mother. Walked both of them down the aisle at the same time. Because it was the right thing to do, no matter what the past was. So I'm the last person you want relationship advice from. But I just look at it and I go, God, if you can get on the same page, have the same conversations with your daughters, you can establish, because they're in a time now where things are shifting for them. They're trying to find their own identity. They're becoming young ladies and all that stuff. And I want them to be smart. I want them to be safe. I want them to be independent, and doing it that way.
Yeah, that was me. That's why I'm asking you, because
Yeah.
the father have money, I don't have the money.
Yeah.
So I always tell them, your dad control me with the money. I don't want you guys to thank me for the decision that I took. They kind of see it like the youngest say, I don't have a good relationship with my dad, but he's the one with the money, so I gotta hold on to it. And it's like, I don't want it to see that way.
He has an opportunity to use that power to build them up, to not hold it over their head if he chooses to do it, but to use it and say, here's how I want you to start to understand. He has the opportunity to allow them to grow because they look at him for the money right now and everything. And if you two can get on the same page, it could be tremendously powerful in their lives.
I gotta talk to him.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough, but you know, it's the right thing to do for the right reasons.
Yeah, because I understand his part is keep the kid him. It's like I'm the one with the money, you guys
Yeah.
come to. And I always tell them, control your kids with the money because then when they have their own money or whatever, they're not gonna come to you
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, and what is it teaching them about relationships with men? That's not the reason. And I don't know that that's the way they're looking at it, but I'm a dude. And I know how I respect my wife. I know how I put her on a pedestal. And I don't ever want her to, she literally didn't know anything about what I had until we got to the point of getting married. And then it was like, everything's out. Like, it is what it is. There's no control. It would destroy our relationship. You know, so, and I didn't get married until I was 50. So I did my share of botching stuff up in relationships before that. So I told her that she would have a guest list because for the wedding. Me, I'd have a witness list because no one would believe I'm getting married. So they wanted to witness it. So, but I think that you have a beautiful opportunity to try and transition and shape some things up. And I know with my ex, with Jeremy, the thing that I looked at with his mom, one of the things that changed us was at 13, it was still tense with her. But there was one moment where I looked at her and I said, listen, I don't know. We did a lot of things for each other that didn't go well. We didn't do those things right. And if I had a chance to do it all again, I would do it differently. But the one thing that we did right is that little boy. And I said, and that I have nothing but gratitude for, and I appreciate you for it. And that was a transition point for us. You know, you've got 3 beautiful girls. It's the one thing y'all did right. Whatever the relationship is, I don't know the relationship, but it is the one thing y'all did right. Keep doing it right. All right?
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate.
You got it. You got it, y'all. All right, y'all. I actually have a call. I've got to do a presentation at the top of the hour. I just looked at the time. All right. So great to have you all here. We'll be doing this again next week. Tesla Vision. I'll ping you. I see your note. Let's make it happen. All right. All right. You guys have a great day. We'll talk soon. Stay in touch.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Is there something else I can help with?
Whoop.